Hi everyone, welcome back to Wentworth Life, the YouTube channel that's full of Wentworth. If you're new to the channel and enjoy Wentworth related videos, then hit that subscribe button right now. And also, if you want to connect with me on other social media platforms, then I will leave my links for you at the bottom of this video. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I will be responding to some of your lovely comments from my previous video. So let's jump straight into it with the top 10 moments from Season 2. Coming in at number 10, we have Will versus Fletch. So during Season 1, we learnt that Mr. Fletcher had an affair with Will's wife, Meg Jackson. During Season 2, Will overhears a conversation between Fletch and Vera on the CCTV camera and learns the truth about the affair. So Mr. Jackson goes looking for Fletcher and he ends up punching him in the face. But in the following episode, Will and Fletch end up alone in the boiler room. And after a tense standoff and a load of horrible home truths that Fletch fires at Will, the pair of them end up in a total fight. Well, it isn't quite a fight, but Will ends up battering the crap out of Fletcher. Now, I think Fletcher was thinking that he deserved to be punished for screwing over his best friend, and he doesn't bother fighting back. So Will ends up beating Fletcher to the ground before Ferguson and Vera walk in on them, and luckily for Fletcher, this is enough to stop Will from doing any more damage. Flying in at number 9, we have Maxine trying to escape. So poor Maxine, she didn't have the best time when she first arrived in Wentworth. She was taunted by the women and called names, and if we fast forward halfway through Season 2, we learn a little bit more about Maxine's backstory. That basically she was abused by a partner, which caused her to stab him in self-defense. Now, when Maxine thinks that she's going to be having a visit from Gary, she's left disappointed when Gary's brother arrives with the news that he doesn't want to see her, and that he is heading overseas with work. So Maxine is adamant that she needs to see Gary to say sorry. So she ends up stealing Mr. Jackson's uniform, which was previously covered in blood, and she ends up dyeing the shirt and takes off her wig, so she ends up looking like a man. And she basically tries to walk out of the gate of Wentworth with the visitors. Unfortunately though, Vera does spot Maxine and calls Mr. Jackson for help, and Mr. Jackson chases Maxine all the way down the pathway and catches her before she manages to completely escape. Poor Maxine. Popping in at number 8, we have Bea Attacks Brayden. So the only thing that Bea had to live for was Debbie. Unfortunately, evil Brayden did take away Debbie with a hot shot of heroin, ultimately killing her. Now, Bea is out for total revenge, and she means business. So she tries to get her husband Harry to do the deed on the outside, but Bea soon learns that he just isn't strong enough to carry out what she wants done. So Bea ends up setting a trap by writing a letter to Brayden explaining that she is sorry for killing his mum, and she gives it to Simone Slater to give it to him when he comes to visit her. Bea then applies to see her solicitor to talk about launching an appeal on the same day Brayden comes to Wentworth. So with the plan set, Bea has made her shiv and she is ready for Brayden. Visiting day arrives and Bea heads into the visiting room to see her solicitor, casually waiting for Brayden to arrive. As soon as he does arrive, she launches herself at him, aiming to slice his neck, but unfortunately she just misses the vital part of his neck, and she ends up scarring him instead. Bea is pulled off by the officers and Brayden lives to tell another tale, for now. At number 7, we have Maxine Saves Bea. So after Bea's attack on Brayden, Brayden now also wants revenge. So Brayden's family sends in a hitwoman to take out Bea. Unfortunately, we don't know who she is. So in episode 4, 3 new characters are brought into Wentworth, but one of them is sent in to take care of Bea. Simone Slater tells Bea about the hit, and Bea makes it her business to try and strike first. So Bea goes to Franky and gets a weapon. Franky gives Bea a zip gun with only 1 bullet, so with Bea now tooled up, it's just a matter of waiting for the person to strike. In a very tense scene, Bea is taking a shower, but the shower block soon becomes empty with only Bea and one other person in there. We soon learn that the hitwoman is Kat, and she's been hiding a knife in her fake broken leg cast. So Kat launches a brutal attack against Bea, slicing her body before Bea starts to fight back. A big massive fight breaks out between the pair, and during the scene you can almost feel the pain. Bea tries to shoot Kat, but Kat kicks the gun out of Bea's hand, so Kat grabs the knife and is about to fatally stab Bea before Kat is grabbed and pulled off and knocked out with one punch by Maxine. And I think we were all relieved at this moment that Maxine arrived on the scene to save the day. And it's after this, Maxine and Bea become best friends. Good old Maxine. Coming in at number 6, we have Vera giving her mum the fatal dose. Now, I don't suppose any of us could blame Vera for carrying out this action, but at the end of the day, she did cross the line. And I think this is the first time we actually witnessed Vera crossing the line. So Vera's mum in season 2 was dying, and Vera decided to home care her. She did have nurses looking after her while Vera was at work, but then when Vera was home it was very hard work for her. So her mum was really awful to Vera, calling her names and taunting her about her rubbish childhood. During episode 7, Vera is slowly starting to crack, and when things get too much for her, by the end of the episode, and with a little persuasion, well, indirect persuasion by Ferguson, Vera gives her mum a fatal dose of drugs, causing her to fall asleep and basically never wake up again. And by the next episode, Vera basically bins all the flowers and the cards after the funeral and carries on life as usual. Now I just hope that this doesn't come back to haunt her later on down the line. At the halfway mark now, and we are at number 5, Ferguson's past, and Will is revealed as the social worker. Now I think I am not the only one whose mouth completely dropped during this moment. So in an absolute plot twist all the way throughout season 2, we are under the impression that Ferguson has had some sort of problem with Mr. Fletcher. But we soon learn that it's all about Mr. Jackson. So during this episode we learn about Ferguson's backstory. A previous prison that she worked in, she ended up falling in love with a prisoner called Gianna, who was pregnant while in prison. Ferguson built up a relationship with Gianna and she promised to look after her, promised that she wouldn't let any harm come to her whatsoever. So after Gianna had her baby, the governor of that prison decided that the baby was to be taken into social, causing Gianna to hang herself, leaving Ferguson absolutely devastated. But by the end of the episode, we learned that the social worker that took the baby into care was no other than Mr. Jackson. And Ferguson is out to take full revenge on him, in full freak fashion. Now, it was a moment in the series that changed the whole game. And I know a lot of people said that they saw it coming, but for me personally, this was one of those moments that gave me the chills as well as making my mouth drop. Flying right into number 4, we have Vera becomes Vinegar Tits. So this was definitely one of my favourite moments from season 2. I mean, don't get me wrong, this was a really bad episode for poor Vera, but it was still a brilliant moment. Franky wanted to get some revenge on Mr. Fletcher, who had previously attacked her after she had been spreading rumours about him. So Franky and Boomer and the rest of the girls decide to set a trap by pouring vinegar all over the floor just outside the kitchen doors that lead into the back area. So the women press the panic button and they wait for Mr. Fletcher to arrive. Unfortunately, Vera arrives before Fletcher and slips on the vinegar on the floor, with all the women pointing and laughing as Vera cannot get herself off the slippery vinegar. It's at this point Vera gets the nickname Vinegar Tits from Boomer, because she basically gets vinegar all down herself, and this leads to a much stricter character for Vera for a little while. But to be fair, who can blame her? It's just another bad day in the office for our Vera. Coming in at number 3, we have Bea Escapes. So this is one of those moments from the whole entire run of Wentworth that I just love. I always remember it being praised as the episode that broke the internet. Now, after a vicious fight with Franky, Bea ends up in hospital, escorted by Mr. Jackson. So when Bea is patched up, she tells Mr. Jackson that she's thirsty and she would love a lemonade, so Mr. Jackson heads off to get her a lemonade. However, Ferguson has learnt that the serious injuries that Bea has were self-inflicted, so she telephones Mr. Jackson to get back to her bedside. But when he gets back, Bea has disappeared. Mr. Jackson goes looking for her, but Bea has already found a change of clothes and is already heading down the lift. In a very long and tense scene with Bea walking up to the hospital exits. I mean, while Bea is making her way out of the hospital, we also learn that Bea has sent Liz a package with a gun to the halfway house, meaning that Bea has got murder on her mind. So Bea makes it out to the hospital and walks off into the night, and it's definitely one of those classic moments and just a fantastic episode as a whole. Just missing out on the top spot at number 2, we have Bea Kills Brayden. So literally just moving on from our last spot, Bea is now escaped and she's on the run. She heads over to the halfway house to see Liz and to get the gun. Liz does try talking Bea out of it, but Bea is determined that Brayden will pay. So later on in the episode, Bea arrives at Brayden's business address and climbs in through the window. She enters his property and confronts him with the gun. Bea catches Brayden about to give another young girl some heroin, but she tells the girl to leave. And yes, I did realise, guys, that the young girl is Simone Slater's daughter. So it's now Bea versus Brayden. Bea demands Brayden to tell her that why did you kill her daughter? But he basically tells her that he didn't have a choice and that he was made to do it by his mother. So Bea tells Brayden to mix all the heroin off the table and to inject it into himself. But when Brayden refuses, Bea tells him that she's going to shoot and kill him. Mr. Jackson arrives on the scene and tries to talk Bea out of it, and when it's looking like that Bea is about to see reason, Brayden takes one last look at Bea and smiles. Bea sees red and immediately raises the gun and fires, instantly killing Brayden through the head. Definitely a moment where I think everyone jumped off the sofa and cheered for Bea, and it was also the moment that changed Bea forever. And at the top spot, at number 1, we have Bea Fights Franky. Now, whenever anyone talks about Wentworth, I think a lot of us always cast our minds back to this one particular fight scene. Now, don't get me wrong, I know we've had a lot of fight scenes on Wentworth, but this one was definitely the one that we were all waiting for. As much as we all love Franky, she did become a bit too big for her boots in season 2, and we all wanted Bea to wipe that smile off her face. So Franky was in too deep on the drug scene and she was becoming a little bit out of control, so Bea decided to take Franky on. During a very tense scene in the laundry, Bea had stolen some box cutters and Franky was armed with a shiv. With the officers distracted, and then boom, the fight is on. Bea and Franky go at it in a very long fight scene. The pair of them end up in a bloody mess, but eventually Bea gets the upper hand and she beats Franky while she's pinned on the floor. Bea holds a blade to Franky's throat and asks her if she wants any more. Franky ends up telling everyone that Bea has won. Bea stands up, standing over Franky, covered in a bloody mess, before slashing her own wrists. And I mean, this was such an amazing scene, and it definitely isn't one for the faint-hearted, especially the wrist slashing scene. It always goes through me. But it was fantastic to finally see Bea rise to the top, setting things up nicely for season 3. So there we have it, guys. That was the top 10 moments from season 2. Let me know in the comments box below what was your favourite moment from season 2, and let me know if you think I missed anything out. And while we are on comments, it is now time for some comment replies from my previous video. So we have Linda Klassen. Thank you so much. A much needed break from the reality of our new way of life. Yes, have to agree, Linda. It's a very tough time for us worldwide right now. I hope you're all doing very well. But I'm taking this opportunity while I'm in isolation to fire out some videos to try and take your minds off it. Thank you for your comment. We have Carissa Ramsey, a blast from the past. God, I miss the old Wentworth. Oh, thank you for your comment, Carissa. Yes, it's always good to go back to the roots of Wentworth and, you know, just remember how it all began before the Ferguson era. And there's always moments in season 1, doesn't matter how many times I watch it, there's always moments that make my hands, the hair on my body stand up. It's always good to go back. Thank you for your comment. And we have G Quinn, thank you Wentworth Life, the best Wentworth channel here on YouTube. Oh, thank you. Best wishes to everyone and be safe from Dublin. P.S. I've recently been watching Prisoner Cell Block H and in hysterics at Vera being called Vinegar Tits. Could you add to the request queue the clip of Vera in season 2 slipping on the vinegar and getting her nickname Vinegar Tits? It was such an honorary moment to the original. Well, G Quinn, your wish is my command, as I included it in this video. Of course, it was one of my favourite moments from season 2. And also shout out to Prisoner Cell Block H. If you guys haven't seen it, it is the original of Wentworth. It is very old and the early episodes is very dated, but if you stick at it, you will see it was actually a fantastic series with 692 episodes. So if you are waiting for Wentworth season 8, I definitely recommend going to watch the original Prisoner Cell Block H. Trust me, you will enjoy it. So thank you all for your lovely comments. If you didn't see a comment this time, then don't worry, maybe next time I will feature one of your comments. And thank you all for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and I will see you very soon.